If you take over your state, your county first, then your state, and take it over and put some right wingers in power, and eventually get to the state level, you know what that's going to do? It's going to affect the Republican Party in Iowa or Florida or Texas, wherever it is that you live. You've got to take power, and then eventually that Republican Party in that state will move rightward. And you need to be in a position where you can install our guys, real right wingers, in power. And then when one state's Republican Party moves to the right, you know what's going to happen? It's going to be a cycle. The weak Republicans, I don't even use the term RINO anymore, and I'll explain why in a minute, but the weak Republicans aren't going to get back in there because the strong, hardcore center, the delegates and so on, are going to kick the fakes out. And then the fakes are going to know the RINOs, as it's commonly called, or really just the weak neocons, are going to know that if they run, they're not going to get the votes. They're not going to get the support of the Republican establishment. If we have a good Republican establishment in down the line, 20 years from now or something like that. But it's going to take a lot of hard work. Now, why do I not use the term RINO? I say neocons all the time. I talk about the Republican establishment. I want to eventually start incorporating this into this show. This is one of the best books you're ever going to read, Annals of the Stupid Party by Clyde Wilson. Now, that is a paleoconservative. He's also a Southern man, and I like him a lot. But he traces back all the way to the very beginning how the Republican Party was the party of big commercialist business and against the South. And in order for us to actually have a right-wing movement, we've got to remember that these Republican establishments are corrupt by design. Now, the problem is we don't have an alternative. The idea of us trying to infiltrate and take back over the Democrat Party, that is a unicorn land kind of fantasy. Never going to happen. They have a stranglehold on there that we cannot break. But the stranglehold that they have on the Republican Party can be broken. In fact, it was broken in a lot of respects around the time of just around the 1900s, because opposing Wilson, there were people like Robert Taft and Russell Kirk, the people that were more America first, and they were the dominant strain of the Republican Party. Now, as time went on, that started to change. You end up getting Ike, who was a very mixed bag. You end up getting Nixon, who actually had a lot of really good qualities. He kind of called back to some old paleocon energy. And you know that because Pat Buchanan was a hardcore Nixon supporter. He actually worked for Nixon for a little while. And he has a book about the Great Comeback, right? I mean, Buchanan loved Nixon, and for good reason. Nixon ended up being politically assassinated because he was too good. The establishment wanted to get their hooks into him, and he refused. But that's the point of what I'm saying here. The idea of being a RINO, Republican in name only, no, these weak Republicans are Republicans. That's the problem. And they need to be primaried. They need to be confronted. But we're going to have to take power back from them. And really, I think the Republican Party is the only way to do it, is to have us change them into the Christian Values Party. I used to have a banner here as well where I would talk about that. But that's one of the big reasons why I do what I do. We want them to be the Christian Values Party. And by that, I mean pro-life and Christian nationalist in a lot of respects. When you read Stephen Wolf's book, I love Stephen Wolf's book. We want closed borders. And we want to look after our fellow man with the golden rule. And we want to fight back hard against the woke and LGBT and gay race communist indoctrination stuff on our airwaves and on our TVs and on our phones. And that's why we do want to change the Republican Party into the Christian Values Party. And here you see we have nationalists and paleoconservatives and more of like the hardcore religious right types going against the so-called RINO GOP. So I hope you join me in this journey. As I've said in the commercial break, you can support me with the fogandwhirlwind.substack.com/subscribe. I've got to go, and I will see you guys on Monday at 8:15 Eastern Time. Thank you very much.